Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have a special guest with me, Derek Clelan. Hopefully, I said your last name right. I don't think I've ever said it before now.
You did. I think actually the first time we ever chatted, you said it right too, and I was like, "Wow, I'm surprised."
Oh, really? Okay, so it's
Yeah,
often something that doesn't get
yeah.
said.
A lot of people say Clelan, but that's all right. It is what it
Okay.
is. But yeah, awesome. So,
Well,
happy to be here.
great. Well, and I'm looking forward to, letting our audience learn a bit about you and your background and how you came to start your Haven. So why don't
Yeah,
you, drum roll, tell us about your experience in the industry, how you got into the industry, and yeah, take us on a journey, please.
yeah, absolutely. So when I got out of college in 2018, I moved to San Diego. I was working for one of my buddy's dads who had a really cool business called Global Gifting. Has nothing to do with landscaping, but it was really kind of my first and only job when I got out of college, and it brought me to San Diego. I had another buddy at the time who was moving to San Diego too, so we got a spot together, and we wanted to start a side business to bring in some extra cash, and so we ended up starting a landscaping company where we were mowing lawns and then marketing ourselves on Yelp and all those different advertising websites and platforms. And quickly we started getting opportunities for more projects, and there really wasn't enough time, so I approached my boss, who his name's John. Me and him are great friends now, but at first he was like, "I can't believe you're leaving me." I basically told him I'm leaving. He was like, "You're starting a landscaping company in San Diego? Like, this is so silly of you." And I was like, "Man, we're
Oh,
just gonna go
really?
for it." Yeah, he was
Yeah.
not, and today, he's the one who actually did my hats. He does all my stuff. He's an amazing guy. One of my great friends, and someone I learned a ton from. He took a risk on himself when he was younger to start his business, and so I really wanted to do the same. So yeah, I had that landscaping company for about 2 or 3 years. I learned a ton about what it takes to be successful in the blue collar space, and we grew really fast just marketing ourselves on Instagram. And I also taught myself during that time Structure Studios, the design software. So that's where I really started to learn how to design. And when we started using those 3D designs as tools to sell projects and show homeowners exactly what they're going to get, we really started taking off. And in hindsight, I wouldn't ever change anything because I've learned so much, and you grow through all the things that you experienced. But if I would have just stuck with landscaping, uh, I think we'd have an amazing, awesome, massive company. But being the young guys that we were, me and my business partner, we started doing a bunch of other things. COVID had just hit, and so we were in our house and we wanted to start a new business. And we started flipping houses later on, and
Oh, my
just a bunch of
goodness.
stuff.
Okay.
And it actually ended up kind of hurting everything in the long run because we were kind of just we didn't have one focus. So me and him ended up kind of
Yeah.
splitting up and parting ways. And uh, a couple years later, there was a homeowner who had messaged an old Instagram account that I had, that one of my business partners has now. It has 850,000 followers, which is really cool. But she messaged the account and said, "Hey, I need some help with my landscaping. I live in Austin, Texas, and that's where I moved a few years ago." And he messaged me and was like, "Hey, dude, we should go, help her out if we can make some money on it. Maybe find her a contractor or something like that." I said, "No worries. That sounds great. Send me your information." I went and met with her. I ended up, I still had Structure Studios, so I was like, "Let me help you with the design. I'll do it for like $500." She said, "Okay, cool." And then I did the design for her. She loved it, and then she really needed, help getting it installed. And I was like, "I don't really do that. I don't want to project manage, do anything like that. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort." And she's like, "Please help us, please help us." And so I ended up putting a offer together called the Backyard Blueprint, which is essentially a construction administration offer. I don't like to say management, I say more administration,
Okay.
where we really help homeowners with that in between phase, mainly from design concept to starting the project, right? So material
Yeah.
procurement, finding the right contractors, vetting them, getting bids, budget sheets, timeline, all that type of stuff, permitting, HOA, everything that you need to really set up a project for success. And, I offered that to her. It was $20,000 that I offered, and they said yes, and like sent me the wire that day. And then that's how Your Haven was born. I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
wow. And so from there, things progressed really quickly. Like I focused on that job. I sold another backyard blueprint to one of my uh, good friends who was doing an awesome backyard project. And then for about a year and a half, 2 years, we really just focused on homeowners. And then we started to progress to contractors and really filling the gap. And that's kind of where we are. And I don't know if we
Well,
want to
gosh,
talk about it here.
that was a blur of a introduction. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. You were doing what? You were doing what? It's funny that you said that, you started doing landscaping and then you got pulled in lots of different directions, flipping houses and stuff like that. I think that that was the first thing that I was like, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. Because I think that, what you said was very true, that, you can get pulled in too many directions and kind of lose focus and lose what you're doing. And I think we hear that from a lot of, business coaches and stuff like that. Like, either commercial or residential, because it's like two different businesses, or either design and build or maintenance, or just build, or, like kind of niche or company. And I think that people in our industry can do lots of things. And you get excited by doing lots of things. So maybe it's, what would you say about that time and what you learned? Because, I mean, you breezed by that pretty quickly, but it sounded really interesting that you were doing lots of different things.
Oh man, it was insane. It was an insane time period where, we had 20 different employees and we were doing crazy awesome things and it was so fun and so exciting. But, you can never really fill up the main cup, you know. I was a young naive guy
Okay.
who felt like, man, if I create just these awesome businesses, I can go raise a bunch of money and sell them for billions of dollars and then I'm done. But that's not what it is. uh, and so with this focus and with what I'm doing right now in my life, with Your Haven, which is my design and planning company and the only company I work on every single day, I say no to every other opportunity because now I see the vision and I see the path and I've learned from my experience in the past, which is I think a huge thing, uh, that we can all apply to our life is just by learning and not doing the same mistakes. Easier said than done, but if you can, you set yourself apart up right away from everybody else. And so, really what I've learned is that consistency and discipline trump all. The
Mm,
compounding that takes place with discipline, doing the same thing every single day, regardless of how we feel. I related a lot to running. I'm a big runner. I
okay.
just really kind of got into it. It was funny when I was in high school, I played baseball and we would only run if as a punishment, right? If we lose the game, we go run, right? And now, my girlfriend is an amazing runner. She's I don't know if I can cuss, but she's a badass,
Yeah,
insane,
go for it.
right? and and so we actually met from mutual friends within running. So I started running kind of right before me and her really got together. But the compounding effect that can happen when you stay disciplined in running is unbelievable. I never had ran more than 3 miles at a time, and then 5 months later, after an intense running training, I ended up running a marathon in 3 hours 43 minutes. Right, that's 8 minute 29 second
Oh, wow.
pace per mile, which is pretty good. And now this year I have a goal to run a sub 3 marathon and do a bunch of cool stuff. But getting back to it, the discipline and focus that you put into something creates that compounding effect where you just everything starts to show. The more that you can delay the gratification, the more that you can delay the earnings and delay pulling from the business and stay focused on what you're doing and continue to build and build and build, it'll just continue to compound. And that's what my real focus is now. My focus isn't I want to build this business and sell it in 3 years or go raise a bunch of money. It's like, how long can I do this for? Can I, I think the person in business who just stays alive wins. So how long can we stay alive, and what do we need to do to make that happen?
That is so funny. I'm a big listener to, or one of my podcasts that I love is How I Built This by Guy Raz. And
Oh
I
my
think
gosh,
it,
I love Guy.
yeah, well, I think it was MailChimp, was it? Or who was it? When I listened to their story, it was like, be a roach. You know,
Yeah,
roaches never die. Be a
yeah,
roach and outlive, because you always have up and downs, but it's about, not getting burnt out, not, underperforming or overperforming, but just staying consistent. That's really interesting that you say that. Well, and and I mean, the other thing that seemed kind of fortuitous is that you moved to Austin, and then
uh,
out of the blue, you got contacted by a client or a soon-to-be client in Austin. That seems
mhm.
really very coincidental. Um, what do you think? Was it
Yeah.
were the heavens aligning or what?
I think you can find opportunity anywhere and everywhere. It's just about being putting yourself in the right position, and by doing that, we need to be in the right mindset. And so, if we're open, if we're focused on bettering ourselves, we're in the gym, we're eating healthy, we're in the positive mind state, we're not going to miss opportunities.
Yeah,
If you're not eating healthy and not taking care of yourself and in a victim mind state, or just complaining, I hate my job or this or that, you're going to miss every opportunity there is. Life is for the taking. So um, you can have whatever you want, but you got to put yourself in the right position.
I totally agree. That goes to Guy Raz's question, huh? Was it luck or
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
he say? Luck or hard work or what?
Luck or skill.
Luck or skill? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I
I don't
love
think
I love what you just said.
I've always imagined myself answering that question one day, and I'm going to say
Well,
there's no luck involved. You know,
well, I do think that you make your own luck. So it's kind of like
totally.
if you don't put in the work, you're never going to have luck. But
Yeah,
kind of like what you're saying. You have to be, if you're in the right mindset, if you're accepting, um, you know, if you're listening, if you're listening to people around you, if you're, I don't know, always open to learning from people around you too, because
yeah,
I think that's sometimes a hard thing to do. Um, and I said this might come up, but you know, I I've just come from my company in Scotland where um, you know people aren't willing. I had a guy that was purchasing the company from me,
hmm,
and he, I told him how I used to run it, and he listened, I thought, and then he didn't do any of it. And you know, I, I was open to being there, but you can't force somebody to listen or understand where you are. I think it's really important, and that we all learn from each and every person. Like, I love what you said, and you've. It sounds like you've learned a lot in a short time period. I mean, it's only start of 2025, and you started working in San Diego in 2018, was it? That
2019. Yeah.
2019. That's not that long ago. So
No,
you,
it's not. It's crazy. It feels so much longer. No, I think
well,
I like what you're saying. I think what it comes down to really is like what everybody says, right? Just take action, right? But really, it's just applying the things that you've learned. You have to apply those. You have to. I love that you mentioned Guy Raz, because I'm a huge podcast guy. I listen to the Founders podcast. I listen to Acquired. I listen to um, Guy Raz, and all those awesome podcasts. and we're learning all the time, but we just got to apply them, that's it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are doing it. You're applying it. So, I mean, eh, tell us a little bit more about the service that because you're now providing this service not just to homeowners, but you are
Yeah.
looking for trade partnerships. Um,
Yeah.
tell us
Yeah.
what
So,
you offer.
so right now, 2025 March, we have 19 Your Haven Pro members, and we've worked with over 100 contractors since the beginning of the year, which is insane. Uh, and then I'll come back to that. So
Wait, you mean
what
just two
happened?
months? Uh,
Yeah, in two and a half months
two
or
and a
so.
half
Yeah,
months. Yeah.
and I'll explain. But um, backing up a little bit to last summer, 2024 in June, at this point I had four people in the business. I had me. I hired a head of sales who's been with me since the beginning of the landscape company. His name's Zen. He's fantastic. And he's only continued to pour into himself and his learning and his abilities and bet on himself and bet on us time and time again, which I'm super thankful for. So I brought him on in December of 2023 to lead sales. Um, so it's been about a year and a couple months. Then in a Facebook group, I met a guy named Scott Saunders, who is a landscape architect graduate from Texas A&M, and he was doing some designs for me at night. Finally, when I was selling enough, I was like, man, I know this is the best next step. Let's go offer him. Me and my girlfriend drove to College Station. I took him out to dinner, him and his wife. I presented him a job offer, and he didn't accept it that night, which typically I don't really like. I like to close a deal right then, but I let him sit on it. I let him think about it, and then he finally hit me back and he said, "Let's do this thing." So it was me, Zen, Scott, and then I had another designer named Sandra, who is fantastic as well, great landscape designer. It was us four, all working remotely, and me and Scott were talking, and we were like, "Man, we really need," and Zen, we really need to create a recurring revenue offer so that we can really take this to where we want it to go. You know, my vision for this is that we do become the biggest landscape design partner for contractors. And we do hundreds of millions of dollars and can do whatever we want, and all our families are taken care of. And that's really the goal. And the only way to get there is with a recurring revenue model, I felt like, because that was the only way that can allow us to really scale and create a super valuable business. Selling just to homeowners is great, but
It's one
and
off.
kudos to a couple of the big landscape companies like Yardzen. I'm pretty sure they just sold right to
They did
last November.
to
So
Belgard.
kudos
Yeah.
to them. But I think we can create an even more valuable business than what they've created. Which again, I have nothing bad to say about them. It's amazing what they did. So we were like, man, how do we create some recurring revenue? We thought about some ideas for homeowners. I remember one time thinking about, like, once we sell them a design, we sell them a subscription to an app that gets some stuff. It's like $50, and it's just like, it was never really going to be that. It was always going to be for the contractor. And so we ended up coming with what we called the Your Haven Pro membership, which essentially is a monthly package, a fee per month, where you pay X amount of dollars and you get a certain amount of designs a month. And it's a super easy process where you go meet your homeowner as the landscaper. You take the pictures, you ask the good questions, you take a couple videos, you get the survey from the homeowner, you upload it through our new design request form, which is super easy to use. And then we turn around the design for you in about a week, very high
Wow.
end, drawn in SketchUp and rendered in Lumion with nice 2D plans that get you square footages, linear footages, everything that you need to bid the project accurately, so that when you go show up to the homeowner's house, and if you're competing against anybody else, you're not really competing anymore. Who's providing the most value? And that's what we
Hmm.
wanted. We wanted to help contractors win more projects. We wanted the experience between homeowners and contractors to be better. And the way that we can do that is by setting the project up correctly and designing it properly and providing actual visuals for the homeowner. And so, um, big shout out to Nicholas Zumino with Garden Goat in Austin, Texas. He was our very first member. And uh, we had called him and we're just like, hey, we have this idea. We'll give you unlimited designs for $2,500 a month, right? And
Unlimited.
if any of my pro members are listening, they're like, what the heck? And I was like, hey, we learned and we've adjusted the offer. All right, we've learned. There's only so much we can do,
Yeah,
right?
I
And so,
know.
uh, he ended up saying yes, and it was great. We did a ton of good projects together, and then later um, because prior to this, what we were doing to get a lot of business was we were calling all the contractors in our area and asking them if they knew any homeowners who could benefit from a design. And then like we would go sell to the homeowner or we would sell to the
Oh,
contractor the design for
okay.
like $1,500. And then if they won the job using our design, we'd charge like another 2,000, right? So like $3,500. And for a lot of contractors that worked, but the problem was it didn't work 5 times a month,
No.
maybe
Yeah.
once a couple months. So we had to come up with a new idea. And so our goal for last 2024 was to bring on a new pro member every month, bring on two new pro members every month, so two a month. And yeah, we ended up hitting that goal. And now we're at 18, 19, I think. I think Zen's in a call right now with hopefully another one. Um, and yeah, we've just kind of tried other offers, tried other things, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
What do you say about, I was recently at an event in Atlanta, and I had a contractor tell me, and this seems pretty common. I've had people in Scotland tell me this too, but like, oh yeah, I'm a landscape contractor, um, and I'm going to start offering design soon.
Yeah.
Um, what do you say to that landscape contractor? I think, obviously I don't think they've done design before, and they think it's just an easy add-on to what they're doing already.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, it's tough because typically that's really not our customer. And I might want to try to educate them or have a conversation with them about their business and what their goals are first. Because that sounds to me like somebody who's probably doing maybe less than $1 million a year, maybe
Okay.
700,000, 800,000. And, they're worried. They're a little bit more in a scarce mindset where they're a little bit afraid to maybe spend some money to find the right people to take on the different aspects of their business so they can grow it and delegate. Um, so I'd say that, are you trying to work on your business or are you trying to work in your business? And if you want to take over designing as well, it's not as easy. There's great programs out there, right? There's fantastic programs out there, but it took me 2, 3 years to really learn Structure Studios well. And I'm glad I did because now I have a design business. But for most of these guys, that's not their goal. Their goal is to go sell projects. And if you're focused every day on 4 or 5 hours a day learning this design program, what other opportunities are you missing to grow and expand your business, go sell more
Hmm.
projects, and take your business to the next level and go hit your goals? And
Yeah.
here's the really real issue is that every contractor, for the most part, every landscaper is using some sort of design software. Whether it's their salesman, they're using real-time landscape architect, UVision, Structure Studios, whatever the case is. Most of them look terrible. They really do. And that's not a knock on anybody. It's just that it's hard to find the time with all the other
I
things you
was going to
have.
say, it's
So
not
if
easy to do these programs, especially if you're doing it like, maybe you're only doing a design every few months, and it's
Well,
like what
even
you
if you're
said.
doing one for every lead that you have, it's hard to really put the time and effort into staging it and going that extra mile, let alone
Mhm.
designing it properly, right? Making sure your edging is in there and, your elevations are correct and all that type of stuff to really use the design as kind of your job site Bible to set expectations with your homeowner. Cause that's what the design is for. It's not just a pretty picture to help sell the homeowner. We're using it as the expectation setter so that they know exactly what they're getting and you know
Mhm.
exactly what you're building and for what price, right?
Yeah.
But going back a little bit, if you as a contractor are presenting your Structure Studios design and your competitor is using us and they're coming with our designs, the homeowner's like, immediately going to look at the guys who are using our designs and are going to think, man, they're way more professional. This looks much better. They're more educated and knowledgeable. And these are the guys I'm going to go with. And it's not about price anymore. It's just about competing on value. And
Hmm.
so that's where I think using a designer, whether it's us or not, it's no biggie to me. There's 650,000 landscapers in the US. I can't even get close to that, right? Whether you're using us or not, using a professional designer or
Hmm.
hiring a designer who is knowledgeable and using those higher end programs will help take your business to the next level. No doubt about it. No doubt.
Yeah. Well, and it's more about, we're creating spaces that actually don't exist. I think there's more to it than just, a patio and some planting and a wall here or there. It's a whole experience. Um,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of thinking and visualizing before you can even draw it. So you know, if you can't be visualize things, I mean, it's more to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say,
Well, a
than
lot of
just,
it comes down to, and a lot of what we do too, is we really try to help educate the contractors we work with on one, how to sell designs, but two, how to really ask the right questions to understand what the problem
mm,
your homeowner is actually having so we can come up with an accurate, profitable solution,
mm,
right? That's what we really want. Because the issue is you can go out there, you can listen to the homeowner say, I want this, this, and this. You put the design together, you go sell it, and then halfway through the job, it's like, oh, this isn't actually what I wanted. So for the
mm,
what we need to be doing is asking better questions. Why do
mm,
you want what you want? And really, why are you willing to invest into this backyard? What is the goal? And sometimes it takes a while. There's been times where we've gone through designs for 3 months, and I think every big contractor knows this, like 3 months tweaking the design, and then finally something clicks. Like I have this one project we're working on where finally we found out that really, what their actual need was. We created a new design to kind of fit that, and their budget went from 200,000 to 350,000, not because we
wow.
sold them, but because we provided the actual solution, right? That was
Yeah.
going to
Well,
solve their problem.
okay, that is really great. Let's expand on that a bit because, um, do you think you could have an example that you walk us through? Because again,
You want to
I
see
have
it?
this pet peeve. Yeah, go for it. I have this pet peeve that like clients will tell, when I was doing design work, tell me what they want. And I'm like, okay, instead of telling me that you want a shed there and a this there and a patio there, tell me how you want to use your outside space and let me create it in a way that you could have never thought of instead of you trying to, piece something together. So I guess, you know, I also think maybe it's controversial, but I think you're saying the same thing. We need to be able to get to the root of the problem, and give the client solutions that they couldn't think of or they don't know. It's
Well, here's what we need to do, right? I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you that project and we're going to walk through it, but let me grab something for you real quick.
awesome. Okay.
I didn't I didn't come up with this, but this right here, this is called the value equation, okay? This is
Okay.
super super important. This Alex Hormozy came up with this. And when I'm selling a lot of the time, I'll pull this up. But a lot of times in business, we talk about we need to provide value, more value, or we just need to be valuable. Like, what the hell does that even mean, right? So,
Yeah.
what's great is Alex Hormozy put together this equation that defines what value is. All right. So, we're going to go over it. So, first things first, up on the top of our equation, we have dream outcome multiplied by perceived likelihood of achievement. Okay. And the
Okay.
reason why this is a division sign is because anything divided by zero is infinity. So
Yeah.
if we can get the bottom of this to zero, we win the game. The bottom of this equation is time delay. How much time is it going to take? Multiplied by effort and sacrifice. How much effort and sacrifice do I have to put in? Okay, so what we need to figure out with our homeowners is, what is their dream outcome? What is the real dream outcome?
Yeah.
What is really the dream outcome for what they want?
And
And
they
then,
don't often know. It's in
no,
their
they don't
head
often know.
somewhere.
They don't often know. They don't often know how to define that either. So we have to be professionals and ask them the right questions,
Yeah.
right? Then it's multiplied by perceived likelihood of achievement. What is their perceived likelihood that you're the person that's going to give them their dream outcome? And the way
Hmm.
that we can do that is by proper design, proper question asking, being professional, being on time, good communication. You're the
Hmm.
guy. Oh my gosh. Like, okay, I really have a perceived, I'm really like, my perceived likelihood that this dream outcome is really going to happen is through the roof right now because the design is spot on. You're listening to me. You're asking good
Yeah.
questions. You're professional. I've seen your other work, right? All that type of stuff. And then down here, how much time is it going to take? And how much effort and sacrifice am I going to have to put in? Right. So ideally, right, we would have infinite value if I can get you your dream backyard. You knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen instantly, and you weren't going to have to lift a finger. That's an
Yep.
infinite value,
Yep.
right?
That is
So
so true.
this is always what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
This comes because of the experience, because of the team that I've hired, because of the confidence that I portray, because I know that if they go with me, they're going to get the best possible experience and product because I have the team around me, not just because of me. And they feel that when I talk to them. But my really goal is to figure out, what is this,
Yeah.
right? What is this? So,
And that's what I really liked. I know I'm kind of s- spoiler alert. I saw your process. I mean,
yeah,
your tracking and you told me about all the detail and the questions that you asked. So you're handing the landscape businesses that you work a toolbox full of,
yeah, I send them the questions that we
yeah.
ask. I send you my pitch. I send you my email templates right when you first sign up with us so that you have all of that stuff. And this isn't all stuff from me. It is not my stuff. It is all the fantastic contractors I've worked with. It's my entire team. It's a culmination of all of that.
Mm.
I'm just in a place to be able to provide it. So I want to show you this one project. So
Yeah, good.
this is a couple that actually purchased a I want to find the site photos. This was a couple that purchased the backyard blueprint from me. Okay,
Okay.
so I still sell those, I don't typically will only sell like two or three. And the reason why a homeowner would buy it is because they don't have the time and they need somebody that they have the utmost confidence in that can bring them their dream outcome, right? And they don't have to put in any effort or sacrifice.
Hmm.
And they don't have to do anything. I handle it all. So I find them the contractor, I do the design, I pick the material, everything, right? And so this couple, I sold them a design like early last year before we even had our pro membership. I finished the design. 30 days later, I emailed them and I said, "Hey guys, I sold them a design for $3,500. I said, "Hey guys, I know transitioning from construction or design to construction is difficult. Here's all the things you have to do. I just wanted to give you this list so that you can go do it yourself, or you can pay me $30,000 and I'll do it all for you. Let me know." I didn't hear from them for 5 months. And then in December, they said, "Derek, we need you." And then they signed the contract and we're off. Right. And so once that really happened, we had an interesting just ride up to this point, and the project is just about to start. So it has taken some time. Uh, and the reason why it's taken some time is because we've been working on figuring out really what they're willing to invest into their backyard and what their dream outcome is. So initially, they
Mm.
said that their budget was about $100,000. Okay. Uh, but the design did not match that. The design was like $350,000 because the design was based on what they wanted. And then they said, "Oh, we just want to spend $100,000 this time." And so I'll show you some site photos first. So the site, it's on a big slope. So this is
Hmm.
really sloping down. We're on the left side yard right now. This is kind of their main house. So you
Okay.
walk down. Sorry, I took a ton of site photos. So you walk down. They have
Yeah.
this deck. They have this deck here. They have this kitchen. There's so many steps. It's
Oh,
really hard to get down
messy.
here. They really have no hardscape around their pool, so they can't really
Enjoy
hang out
it.
down here.
Yeah.
And the space is really separated, right? Like to get from their kitchen and their living room, which is up here, down here, and be able to hang out down here for a while, it's really difficult and tough. And so this was the
And also cutting the grass between all those stepping stones and yeah, just all the little
so
bits.
this is in Structure Studios because when we were designing this, we were using Structure Studios. So this was kind of actually, this is not the initial design. This is kind of a design that we got to, where we got them a little bit more space. We have now this kitchen. This was one change that I think was just a big difference maker. We put in just an extra large fridge in there so
Mm.
that they can go down there and stay down there. We kind of adjusted the stairs and how they come down from the deck. Inside, underneath the deck, is going to be a bathroom and a little small room with a bed that they can use to come down here and stay down here and hang out, and their kids can come back from college and stay. So this actually changed a little bit, but this was one of the first versions of the design, and it's good. But when we really started talking with them, what we finally had got to, because I showed them this, they're like, okay, we really like it. And because this is on such a big slope, it's going to be really hard to phase this out. I mean, really
Yeah.
difficult to phase this out. If you want to do any of this boulder work down here,
Yeah.
right?
You
If you
have to
want
do
these
that
really cool
first.
boulders, like you have to do this first. And if
Yeah.
you don't do this first, how are you going to be able to do everything else? You
Yeah.
know, or how are you going to be able to come back and do this later on?
And that's not
So,
all the base stuff you need to do first, but they won't get the value out of the upper stuff until, yeah, you probably want to say, okay, if I'm going to phase it, I want to do what I'll use the most, but yeah, it's not
exactly.
as easy as that.
So when we finally had a conversation with them, it sounded like the biggest reason they wanted to do this was because they love entertaining, and they love, actually more than entertaining, they love hanging out with their friends. They love going to their friends' parties and being together, and they want to be able to do that at their house. They want to be able to host. They want a place where all their friends could come and they can have parties and Halloween parties
Hmm.
and Fourth of July parties and places for their kids to come party. And right now they can't do that. And so we'll go over some of the changes. When we made these changes, the everything changed because it was like, okay, if we're really going to do this, let's do this thing, let's take this to the next level. And if you're going to do this, like we need to do it all, or we need to wait until you have the money to do it all. And so
Oh,
and that was the biggest thing. So it looks similar, right? It does look similar. There's a couple things that were changed, but the biggest piece was this piece right here.
the
If you
bottom.
remember before, there
Yeah.
was not a lot of space around the pool. This was
Yeah.
all sloping hill. So we added this retaining wall, added this extra concrete area. And you might be like, oh, that's a no brainer. Why didn't you do that before? Sometimes it takes time to really design properly. And so this was the game changer. So this took the budget from, okay, we want to spend 100 to, okay, now we want to spend 200. Okay, let's just go all in and do all 350. Right. And so this is a great example of really being a team with your homeowners, asking
Hmm.
them right questions, really figuring out what it is that they want, and then educating them and talking to them with like, hey guys, if you really want all this awesome landscaping, like this landscaping is going to be insane, and we're going to make a whole YouTube video about this top to bottom. This project's going to take about 90 days. My contractor's insane. His name's Josh. He's going to be doing all this.
90
Uh,
days. That sounds fast. Yeah.
it's going to be fast. Yeah. because one of the parts that we're going to have to do is we're going to take this whole bottom deck out. We're actually going to raise this deck up about 12 inches because there's a big step that's super annoying from them coming out of their back sliding glass door currently. And so we're going to get rid of that step. We're going to create more space down here for their room. We're moving the pool equipment. We're creating this awesome outdoor kitchen and space and just allowing them to really, have the space to entertain and for their kids and for them, and just really finding their dream outcome. Right.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I wanted to show this is because the money, of course, is always an objection and always something we need to worry about. Right. If we all had infinite
Yeah.
money, we could just have whatever we want. But it's always not the most important factor when designing and when you're a landscape contractor. The most important factor is figuring out what is the proper solution for this homeowner, because if they want it bad enough, they will find a way to finance it and get it paid for,
Yeah.
right? And this is kind of what we came up with. And so
Well, and I
super
think,
exciting project.
yeah,
And
it's a couple things that you've said that are really interesting. And it's that if you never, you have to get their dream outcome, and you have to
yeah.
show that you're listening to them to find it, because it's not just the first thing. Maybe you will have to iterate the design. It's not as easy as boom, this is what you want, this is what you get. It's more than that.
And
um
so that's why I think it's so important as a landscape contractor to be selling designs. And so that's something we really talk about. All the designs through me, if you're a landscape contractor and you want to work with us, all our designs are less than $500 for you. We sell to homeowners starting $5,000 for a design. Right? Our goal, and all in full transparency, is I want you to get hooked on the design, and then you buy a package with me and you pay me monthly. Right? That's really what I
yeah.
want. Still, the design price per design will never be more than $500. All right, you have my word on that. So,
Well, and I don't know
uh,
how you do it for that. I mean, I think because you're disciplined and you've built the process and the systems that,
yeah.
but
Well, I
for
have the
me as
people.
a designer, like that,
I have
that's,
the people now.
yeah,
I have right now. I have 19 pro members, or 18, or I think it's 19 now, paying me on average, 3,500 a month.
yeah,
Right? So
yeah,
plus all the other designs I'm selling, like I have the team, I
yeah,
have the people, so I can offer those prices. And with that recurring revenue, that's the power of the recurring revenue, is that money's coming in, so you can hire based on that.
yeah.
And so a lot of what we talk about is like, once you sign up with us, let's go sell the designs. If you sign up with one of our packages, which is $19.99 a month, and you get 4 design and plans a month, if you go sell all 4 of them at $1,000 each, you make $2,000 profit just on the designs, let alone winning more projects on the back end
To
because
build.
of the more professional experience.
Yeah.
And the biggest part of selling the design is that you're getting the homeowner financially invested in you and your business. And when your homeowner is financially invested in you, they're not going to go talk to 5 different contractors. They don't want to do that. They want to
Hmm.
find the one person that's kind of going to show them the way, lead them along, you know,
Yeah.
be the person that's going to get this project done for them. And so in the same breath, don't undersell this design, because if you sell it for $500, typically, they're going to go shop it. It's not enough. What we found is like a good number for you to sell is like $1,500. Our big guys are selling the designs for 3,500 to 5,000, and they're paying
Yeah.
us 5,000 a month, selling 10, 15 designs a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And well, and because remember, you're also maybe not going to get all of the designs to build. So you do need to cover your time and effort and, going to the clients and, discussing things with them. It's a lot of effort. That you want to get compensated for, as well as pay for the design, the work for you guys to do. So
Exactly.
you're right. I think 1,500 is a good starting point. It should be something, because people don't value something that they don't pay for. And really,
Yes. I
design
like that.
is a lot of work. And
Hmm.
if we're giving things away that cause a lot of work and a lot of thought process, then people don't even think, you know, we're spending any effort. I would say $500 is such a great deal,
Yeah.
you know? Um, yeah, I
No,
think that,
it's unmatched. It's unmatched what we're providing. And
yeah.
there's people who've tried to copy our process and our system and undercut our pricing. And um, you know, I haven't seen anybody else who has a membership offer before we started it. Uh, I really hadn't. I'm not saying we came up with it. There was probably somebody out there. But since, we've definitely kind of taken it by storm. We're very active in Facebook groups, and so we're in every hardscape contractor, goat gang, everything there is, right? Just always trying to be helpful and not even needing to sell. Just say, hey, we're here for you if you need it, and this is what it is, and it's working. And
What do you
but they
find
can't they
is,
can't do what we can do because we have the team.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I think you've built it very well and very um, organized, and with an intention to help as many people as possible, with the processes. And is there a size of business? You talked about sizes of business. Like, do you find that most of your clients are over 1 million, but under a certain amount? Or, I mean, what would you say is the perfect fit for you? Or does that matter?
good question. No, it does for sure, honestly. And I'll just be honest. The guys who pay more are always the better customers. The guys who are making more typically are always the better customers. Um, and so I love the 2 to 7 million range. That's typically what I like a lot. Like, I know that's kind of a big range, but that area right there, those are guys who have their systems and processes in place, and they just want to take it to another level that we can help them with. And so anything really less than that, like, we do work with a ton of contractors who are like maybe 700,000 plus, trying to aim for 1.5, 2 million. And I, of course, love working with them and helping them. But they're not asking the right questions. I'm not getting the budget. I'm not, there's more revisions. The, you know, Typically they're not winning as many jobs because they don't have their own processes in place. And we're
That's a
helping
good
them
point.
run the
Yeah.
designs, win projects, but, but we can only do so much. I can't be selling for you. I do know some guys who do that though.
Hmm. Okay.
But I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to find I mean, you're setting up your company to help, a certain group of people, and you
Yeah.
can't always service everybody. So, but I think that, um, it sounds like a really great service. And I love how organized it is, because I think that our industry, you mentioned the 650,000 businesses in the US. We know that, what is it, 86% of them have 9 employees or less.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of work to do to grow companies and help them be successful. And that's why I started Synced, and trying to educate and inspire and help everybody think a bit more holistically in their niche. So yeah. What did you think of the magazines that I sent you? Hopefully you
Oh, they're
liked them.
great. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. They're on my dining table right now, so I read them when I'm eating lunch and stuff.
Awesome. Well, we hope to show off inspiring projects that, even if you're a great designer, you will still get inspiration. If you're a great contractor, you will still get inspired. If you're
Hmm.
into maintenance, you will still, benefit from learning. All of the sectors of the industry can learn from each other, and we can all get better together. So, I hope you found out about some new leaders in the industry, new companies, new projects going on, new products,
Yeah,
all that good stuff. So,
yeah, it's inspiring. What's so great about our the time that we live in right now is that you can hop on your phone or get sent the synced hard copy as well, and be inspired. Right, and a couple years ago, you had to go travel or read a book or something for that, and now we can be super. Now we can get inspired like at the flip of a switch, which is pretty awesome. But
On a
yeah, no,
video
I really
call
did
too.
enjoy it
Yeah.
on a video call. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Derek, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad that you could make the time to be with us and tell our audience more about Your Haven. Do you want to tell
Sure.
us your website and how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, on all socials, and my website is yourhavendesign.com, and all our handles are at yourhavendesign. And from that project that we discussed, we're going to make a full YouTube video about it. So you can go to our YouTube, Your Haven Design, and go subscribe there too. And, follow our Instagram. That's where we're posting projects and videos of projects that we're doing every single day. And if you're a landscaper who has thought about ways where you can kind of take your business to the next level and want to find somebody who has your best interest in mind and isn't going to take a percentage of the job and is going to give you a fair price and really work with you, now's the best time. And let's go crush your goals for 2025.
Yeah, go for it.
No,
Thanks, Derek. I look forward
yeah,
to seeing that project on YouTube, and we might have to put it in our one of our upcoming issues too. So,
absolutely. Yeah, thank
thank
you.
thanks for being on. See you again soon.
Bye.